But it's in the thick of the earnings season, so let's start going with earnings reaction coming in. Of course, we have Asian Paints, which continues to reel under pressure as the company missed the expectation on all parameters. To talk to us about the internals, Mr. Amit Singhal, the MD and CEO at Asian Paints, is joining us. Talk to us about the capex plan, Mr. Singhal, that you announced, because that was the silver lining amidst the result, which was otherwise quite weak. With significant capex being planned, what will be the return ratios like going forward? What's your take?
So overall, if you look at the gross margins, they got impacted with the inflationary trend, which we saw in Q1 of about close to about 6%, and then another about 2% in quarter 2, which came into that extent. So largely, if you see vis-a-vis this, we have taken price increases, which are around 3% to that extent. And I think to some extent, that has kind of really impacted the overall margins. As we look at quarter 2, previous on quarter to quarter as compared to previous year, the gross margins in fact have gone up from 35 to about 35.6%, and even the PBDIT margins have gone up to about 15.2% from the 14.4% margins which we saw last year to that extent. So typically we see that this quarter has a slightly different product mix in terms of the overall kind of ranking as we see to that extent. And therefore, I would say that this is something which is just an aberration which is happening right now, because as we go forward, the inflationary trends are definitely softening, and we are seeing, in fact, a deflationary trend coming forward. So we will see normally an easy recovery of about 300 to 350 basis points, which will happen overall from the gross margins point of view. And therefore, I think with respect to even PBDIT margins, we should be back into the band, which is largely in that 18 to 21 band kind of a thing in terms of what we look at.
What kind of product launches are expected in VAE segment? How is the international scenario looking for the same?
So this is today a very, very protected technology, which is there only with some few world players overall. This is also a futuristic technology, which is environment friendly. It is VOC free. So what we see is that this type of capability gives us 2-3 very significant advantages. One, it gives us a very strong advantage with respect to the cost, because today we are importing this emulsion to some extent, and we are incurring on the freight and the customs duty overall to that extent. And therefore, it gives us a very strong advantage with respect to the overall procurement cost. Second, it is a futuristic emulsion, and we think that it gives us very strong properties, whether it is with respect to durability of the product, whether it is stain resistance, scrub ability, and lots of other properties which kind of come in. And therefore, we feel that from a customer facing point of view, we should be able to come out with lots of differentiated products at a very, very good cost, so that it could become a real strong differentiator for Asian Paints as we look into the Indian market.
The other thing that impacted your earnings this time around was the unfavorable product mix, right? Going forward, what kind of change do you expect in the product mix?
So I don't think so it's a deterioration. I think if you study the quarter 2, overall in quarter 2, there is a larger sale of some of the economy products which happen to some extent. And that is something which you will see in the quarter 2 of next year as well, as we kind of go into it to that extent. So overall, I would say the product mix definitely gets far more richer as we get into quarter 3 and quarter 4 to that extent. And therefore, as I said, largely, I think it kind of addresses the issue of the gross margins and the PBDIT margins going ahead.
Right. So what is the entry of new player? We've seen a lot of big companies announcing new capex lined up for the next 3 years. How are you panning up for this new competition?
I don't think so. There is any challenge there, as first of all, because Asian Paints has a very strong, sound strategy in terms of the brand, in terms of distribution, and in our supply chain efficiencies, which are there to that extent. We also see that new players have always been coming in the market. Multinational players with even deeper pockets have come into the market. Earlier, players like Sherwin-Williams, who have come into the market to that extent. I think the important thing to understand for everyone is that it is a 65,000 crore market. And if in this market, next 2 to 3 years, if it goes to even 75,000 crores, and if a new player comes, even in 5 years' time, if they are able to do 3,000 crores, their share will be less than 5% in the market. So I don't think so. It is a question of putting up capacity. It's a question of getting sales in the market. And therefore, we are not worried at all in terms of any new player coming in. In fact, we think more the merrier.
Okay, more the merrier, and there is no question with respect to demand. So let's talk about that itself. What's your expectation for demand in this festive and wedding season? Because in the quarter gone by, the volume growth wasn't that impressive. What's the take going forward?
When we see the month of September, we had extended monsoons, but the October month is shaping up well. The rains have stopped now across the country. The festive sales are quite good in terms of what we are seeing in the market. But I think we don't really depend on only the festive sales going forward. What we are seeing is that definitely there is a strong wedding season which is coming, which impacts repainting. There is a strong construction startup which is happening. Overall, the real estate, despite the interest rates going up and so on and so forth, is looking up. And we see that there is a general larger demand coming up from the rural cities, as we have seen in Q2 as well, overall, which is kind of boosted by the good monsoons which we have seen overall by and large across the country. So I see no reason that the demand in Q3 and Q4 going forward should not be good. And I think we are confident that going forward, I think the trend of double-digit volume growth should continue.
From one results to another, thanks so much for taking our time for us.